So today, yes, today I have a good friend, a good brother, sound brother that we're going to interview and hear his story. He's none other than Otis Wellborn Jr. Just a little bit about me and Otis. We go back, man. God has been setting this thing up since the early 90s, I would say. Like, I'm talking like 89, 90, 91, that time frame. Back when we used to listen to Public Enemy and dance to it, right? Welcome to the Terror Dome. All right, but just a little bit about Otis. Otis is a Cincinnati native. He now resides in the great city of Houston, Texas. He's an ordained minister. He's an author of How to Make Six Figures Selling Real Estate as a Realtor. He's an award-winning realtor. Look at him. Look at it. There's the book right there, ladies and gentlemen. He's been featured on the American Dream nationally televised real estate show. He was a law enforcement officer patrolling the streets of Cincinnati for 11 years, brother. I don't know how you did it, man. Cincinnati can be a rough place, but you did it for 11 years, man. I salute you. He's passionate about using his gifts, talents, and life experiences to inspire and empower leaders worldwide. But there's only one reason why he's here today, and that's because he is a father. He's a pop. And so, Otis, welcome to the show, my brother.
Chauncey, Julius, thank you so much for the introduction. Man, I appreciate the love and everything, man. It's a pleasure to be on your show. I've been dying for this opportunity to be on your show, man. Your show is dope, so I appreciate it.
Man, appreciate it, man. Hey, Otis, man, we're going to hop right into it, man, and just unpack your story. And, man, I'm taking notes over here, man, because I know you got some gems for us, my brother. And so the first question I have for you is what springs to mind when you hear the word father?
Father,
Yeah.
you know, I would say father can mean a lot of things, but in today's time, father is not only just being a dad, but being a authoritarian person of a good example to a
Mm-hmm.
child or a good example to a person in their life. I just recently got married and I inherited three children via marriage, and so
Yeah.
my
Bonus
wife.
dad.
Yeah, absolutely. And so my wife has a 12, a 18, and a 20, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, that's
Oh,
and
wow.
those three different ages, right? And so I'm a father and a dad to all three, but
So wait a minute. You got a 12, you said a 12, 18, and a 20. So that's middle school,
uh
just recently graduated high school, I
is
would
she
think.
in college? Yeah,
She's in college.
so I have two biological children in
Okay.
Cincinnati,
Uh,
ages 9 and 12. So that's a fourth grader and a sixth grader or seventh grader,
mm,
right? And
right.
then here in Houston, we have another seventh grader,
Oh, wow.
first year in college, and a 20-year-old. He's working every day.
Okay.
So when you
Okay.
say father, I mean, man, I'm a father to all of them,
Yeah.
but I would tell you it's interesting because it's like I'm new to them. I've been in their lives for like 2 years now, but they love me like a dad, and they call me dad. And so,
Wow. That's
you
awesome.
know, yeah. And so it's the father, man. It can mean so many things, but I think overall it's a person who can be in another person's life by love, example, and or just a place of position, but from a positive standpoint.
Okay. Okay. And so your dad, you're
Yes.
impacting the lives of, you kind of ran through your dad gambit, right? Your dad spectrum. You're a bonus dad, you're a biological father,
Yeah.
you're stepdad, however you want to call it. You have a blended family, and then you have, I want to take a step back, right? Let's go back in time and hear about how your father shaped, formed, influenced you as a person.
My dad, number one, he instilled just being a hard worker in me.
Mm,
That's, if I
mm,
had to describe my dad, I would say he's a hard worker. And that's what I've gotten to witness. So if I had to, describe my dad in one word or one phrase, I would say hard worker.
Hard worker.
My dad is just a hard worker. He's
Would you
been
say that you got your work ethic from him?
absolutely.
That's
So
cool, man.
yeah, my mother's a hard worker as well. She worked all her
Hmm.
life. She had one job in her life. She worked there from the age of 18 to retirement,
What
right?
did she do?
She used to work for the county, for the courthouse. So she
Okay.
worked in the clerk of courts office for 30 plus years, and my dad drove a metro bus for 30 plus years.
Wow, the Metro bus. That's dope. Like, cause I used to ride the Metro bus. And there in Evanston, the number 4. And when I lived out in Madisonville, it was the number 11, man. And so that's powerful. So your dad was present. You saw him every day. How was your relationship with him? Was it strong? Were you guys close? Were you guys kind of distant? What was that relationship like with your father?
Yeah, so my dad was always present, man. There was a time in my life when my parents got divorced for about 5 years and then they got
Hmm.
remarried.
Hmm.
But even through that, my dad was always present,
That's
whether
dope.
it was me going to be with him during the week or on the weekends or something like that, or
Hmm.
and always been there for me monetarily. I've never went without anything. So,
Wow.
regardless of whatever my parents had going on, they were always there for me, on each side and stuff like that. So yeah, my dad has always been there for me, man. We've
That's
always had a good
beautiful to
relationship.
hear. That's
I feel
beautiful to
like
hear,
we've
man.
gotten stronger. Our relationship, I believe, is getting gotten stronger the older I get, though.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
That's beautiful to hear, man. You hear so many horror stories, but it's good to hear like, hey, listen, my dad was there. My dad showed up.
yeah,
He was present, right? Just not present physically, but he was actively involved in my life and he was right over my shoulder with it. That's beautiful to hear.
yeah. My dad, man, he when I don't even mean to cut you off. But my dad,
No,
when
go
I
ahead.
moved to Houston, my dad like boohooed, like
Wow.
ugly face boohoo. He was like really touched by me moving, man. So that's when
Really?
yeah, it was like a whole nother degree of love that I got to see from my dad
Mm.
when I left Ohio to move to Houston.
So I
Um,
could imagine that it was mixed emotions, proud of you that you're taking this step and that you're following your
yeah,
dreams and your passion, you're getting married. But then he also is physically,
yeah,
geographically, I'll put it like that, geographically losing a son.
yeah. It felt like almost as if I was leaving the nest for good.
Mm.
Even though we didn't live with each other, like I had my own place in Cincinnati, but it was just the fact that it seemed like when I left there, it was like I was permanently leaving the nest at that point, and I think it just hit him, you know. So
Mm.
yeah, I was really touched by it,
That's dope, man. To see dads cry, man. To see
oh
dads
yeah,
cry.
yeah,
It's like the older my father gets, the more he cries, man. My dad can't go 15 minutes without crying now. It's like, and I find myself tearing up more and more as I
yeah,
get older as well, man. Hey,
yeah,
growing up, TV was a big thing. These kids, they don't even watch TV no more. They're on the phone. They watch YouTube, and
yeah.
even if they are watching an actual television, they're either playing the video games or they're streaming. TV has changed in 2024. Let's go back, man. Let's go back in the time machine, man. Back when there was floor models, man. Back when we were the remote control, right? Who was your favorite TV dad? And is there a television or movie dad that you relate to the most?
A TV dad, man. I used to watch the Cosbys a lot,
Mm,
right? Bill Cosby, back in the day, I thought he was dope, right?
yeah, yeah.
But then I also thought Carl Winslow was cool too, right?
Okay.
So I can't remember the name of the sitcom, but it was the sitcom where they had the two twins, the little girls.
Sister, sister.
No, no, no. It
Was it?
was the
It wasn't
family
sister,
that
sister?
they were filming in San Francisco. It was a white family. They
Oh
had like
yeah.
two twins.
It's not Family Ties. It's
It's
Full House.
Full House. Yeah. So
Full
like,
House.
I can even relate in a way. Like I always thought their dad was cool. And what I think about when I think about that is, for example, the dad in Full House.
Hmm.
He was like a very compassionate dad. He was like that dad that would sit down and like be the voice of reason and talk to you,
He was.
right?
Yeah. I
Carl
like Uncle
Winslow.
Joey. I like Uncle Joey. Uncle Joey was the truth on there.
Okay, yeah,
Like
yeah,
cut it out. I like
yeah.
Uncle Joey.
Right. And then, so we talking Carl Winslow. Carl Winslow he was like an authoritarian kind of a
Hmm.
dad. And although he was cool, he just didn't play. He let everybody know, like, I don't play. I don't play about my family. I don't play about my daughter.
Right.
I don't play it on this job. I'm the police kind of thing. And then Bill, as Mr. Huxtable, he was like the college. I went to college and I'm a successful doctor kind of a dad.
Yeah,
He just stood for a lot of good things, man, back in the day.
he
So
did.
yeah, and I'm sure I could probably come up with a few more others, but right off the top of my head, I would name those three.
Yeah. Cosby is my goat. Uncle Phil is my
Yeah,
goat as well. Uncle Phil, he was great. He was that disciplinarian, stern,
yeah,
total line type guy, but had a full heart towards Will and towards Carl and towards his kids, So I like them. And so you brought up some character traits from these three different fathers, right?
yeah.
What's the most important trait a father should have, and why?
Man, I think the most important trait of a father is being compassionate.
Hmm.
I used to always, I came from a disciplined family. So, my mom would be like, boy, I'm gonna whoop your butt. Or, I'm gonna whoop this,
Right.
I'm gonna do that. And so I ended up being that dad, right? But over time I realized, man, that things change,
Hmm.
and I think you have to be more understanding and realize that the kids today didn't necessarily grow up like we did, and they are afforded more things. And so, when you're born in this age and they're used to getting everything, and then when you take it away from them, it's like the world just ended, right? Now I know we were like that when we were kids, but it's like on a whole nother level now, right? And
Yeah.
so and I learned this as being a police officer, man. You gotta have a sense of compassion for people.
You do. You do.
And when you pick that up, it's like, man, because you could understand. I've encountered like kids in the neighborhood where, they're like troubled kids. They're running around with guns, and I'm like, why is it? And then when you hear their story, they're like, this is my way of life. This is all I know. My granddad sold drugs. My dad sold drugs. So now
Mm.
like it would be like a generational thing, right?
Yeah.
And so even though it's wrong and they get in trouble for it, they go to jail. But it's like, man, I actually understand what he's trying to say, right?
Right.
I'm not, saying what he did was right, but what I'm saying is I get where he's coming from as a person, right?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I've learned over time, man, is that you gotta have compassion.
That's good. That's good. Compassion as a dad. And that's not a trait that really is native to dads, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
come naturally. You may find, onesies and twosies, but if you was to line up 10 dads, there may be one or two who are just
Right.
naturally compassionate that way. That's usually a trait that we find in mom, right? But that's beautiful when you see it in dads. Is it hard? Is it difficult being a good dad?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Explain.
So this can go many ways, but for example, I think, like for example, man, I absolutely love my daughter, and when I'm
Hmm.
speaking of my daughter, I'm talking of the youngest of the two daughters that we have in a blended family. So my daughter
Okay.
is Cincinnati. I love her to death, but we just don't have the best relationship, man. And I don't necessarily blame her. I kind of blame her mom for it. I feel as if there's some type of influence going on to where, she has influenced her to
Mm.
not want to talk to me, right? And so that could be really, really hard, especially when you're a dad that do everything for them, be there for them, would give her my shirt off my back, spoil her. She was my firstborn, so why not, right?
Right.
But that could be hard at times, man, where you don't really have a good relationship with a kid for whatever reasons that's going on behind the scenes kind of thing. That's tough, right? But then let's talk blended family, right? I explained to my wife that although I'm a father figure to her children, her biological children, I feel like I have to be a different type of dad toward all three of them differently, right?
Right.
The oldest, he's 20. So when I talk to him, being a father toward him, it's different talks to what I would have with a 12-year-old, right?
Yeah.
He's 20. I'm like, hey, man, listen, you're getting older. I need you to be responsible. I need to make sure, you're making the right decisions because you're at that age where things happen like children and, or you're old enough, if you get in trouble, you go to jail. Like, you're like grown man status now. And actually, I've been saying he's 20. He's actually 21.
Okay. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So he's like full grown man status, and
Mm.
so the way I would be a father toward him would be something totally different to what I would be, the father to the 12-year-old.
Right.
I'm fighting with the
Absolutely.
12-year-old about like, hey man, it's bedtime. You got to cut these games off, kind of thing,
Man.
And then being a father to our oldest daughter, just being like a support system for her, like in the sense of like, hey. I'm here to let you know, like, I am here if you need me. I'm here as an ear if you need to talk or, because, I think she is one that's used to being in the nest. And so now that she's staying on campus at the college, it could be
Uh-huh.
a lot different for her. It's a life change for her, right? So it's pretty big.
Yeah. Y'all got that gambit of just, and so your skill set has to be
Yeah.
like, you have to have bandwidth, to be able to talk to a younger child, talk to an adult, and you have to put on those different hats. Like, okay,
And to
here's my
be
adult
honest,
hat.
and now that I think about it, man, I feel like God prepared me.
Mm.
He
How?
prepared me. Well, prior to even like being married or anything like that, I've been in relationships in the past where the lady that I might have been involved with at that time had another kid. And so, you
Mhm.
find yourself being around other children. And so you just learn how to communicate with them. You learn what their temperament is like, right? And not all kids are the same, right? And then, just one of those things where it's like even blended family children are not the same, right?
Right.
So, and I learned from the children in the communities that I served,
Mm.
right? So it's just a collective thing, man, where you pick it up and learn as you go in all the different environments you're in.
You talked about communicating. You talked about communicating with your children. You talked about communicating with children when you were a police officer and just kids in the neighborhood. I want to shift gears a little bit, still talk about communication, but I want to talk about your communication with your child's mom. How do you currently communicate with your child's mom? Because I always talk to fathers about having strong relationships with the mother of their children. What's that communication like with her, and what are some challenges that you may face?
Okay, so both of my children both have different moms. So my
Okay.
daughter has her mom is different from my son's mom, right? My daughter's mom prefers to only talk via text or email,
Oh
right?
wow.
Because
Wait, y'all don't talk on the phone. Y'all meet up in
I
person.
mean,
Just even just cordial exchanges.
very seldom, very seldom. It's
Mm,
the point where I feel like everything is very legalized with her,
mm,
right? I think it's for like paper trail purposes, right?
right, man.
Yeah, it's very like paper trail purposes. Versus my son's
So,
mom, I can text her, I can call her, you know, and
mhm,
I'm not actively beefing with neither one of them, but it's just they're just different. They operate different.
understand, understand. What steps have you taken to try to improve that relationship with your daughter's mom?
Man, I think, uh, well, to be honest with you, the most active step is just having a forgiving heart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why have you had to take in that?
There was a period of time, man. I went a long time without seeing my daughter, right? And so I don't have any parental rights to my daughter. So I just have like visitation rights. We don't have like shared parenting or anything like that. So
Okay.
that in itself can be tough, right? Um, and so she calls all the shots. She make all the rules in regard, the decisions rather
Yeah.
in my daughter's life. But it seems like she's making all the rules, and so when that happens, it's just a tough situation.
So with that being said, how often do you get to see your daughter?
So now that I live in Houston, I don't see her much at all because she's in Ohio. And then
Mm,
typically when I go back home, I try to make time, but it's a situation where it's like she don't necessarily answer the phone. So,
mm,
and I don't, and again, I
yeah,
haven't done anything to her. I think it's just a formality of the situation and the
absolutely.
influence. And so that makes fatherhood tough, especially when you're a good dad. It'd be different if I was like a deadbeat or, don't want anything to do with my children. I'm like 3,000% the opposite, right?
Right.
Yeah, like I feel like it seemed like at one point the more I wanted to be involved, the more fight I got. You know,
Hmm.
it's like, oh, no, 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 no. Just stay where you at. You know, and I'll handle this, but you send that money.
Wow.
Keep that money
Wow.
coming. Right. Yeah. So, and honestly, man, talking about this with you is kind of therapeutic because I don't really talk about this too much. So, the fact that I'm talking about this is big.
Man, well, that's what this is. That's one of the reasons why I created Pop Talk was so that fathers can have a safe space to come and have these type of conversations without judgment, without any
Yeah.
attack, without any condemnation. We want you to feel comfortable just sharing your story,
Yeah.
right? I was thinking about pulling back from this. I was like, man, maybe this is too hard for him to have this
No, no,
conversation here.
no, man. What I realized through my walk in this journey, man, it's not about me. Like I might be the subject of it and the subject that's going through the problem, but what I realize is the ministry in it is that I realize the things that I go through is for the next man behind me. So
Mm,
it is giving me all the substance to talk about when I go and speak at a school or go and speak at a church or speak at a conference.
right.
You know, I'm sure that people are going to feel the pain. They're going to feel the authenticity of what I
Yeah,
have to say because it's coming from a real, point of my life where it's like,
absolutely.
this is very real. So, yeah. So I realized through this whole thing, man, I'm the subject of it, but it's not meant for me. I feel like God will use people in life, man, to where he'll run them through a situation or, it's a test of faith. It's like saying, hey, I love you, and I love you enough that I'm gonna run you through this, but I need you to lean on my word. I need you to lean on not your understanding,
Come
but
on now.
my will for your life. And through it all, it's gonna feel like a fire, but that blue flame is refining you
Mm,
so that I
come
can
on.
put you in front of people and speak life to them in a way that's gonna encourage them, let them know that they're not alone.
That's powerful, brother. That's powerful. That's powerful. I love that, man. Is there anything specific that you would change about your current parenting situation?
Yeah, the whole job and family services situation. I believe, and I strongly feel this way. I feel that the family services situation, I feel like that destroys families. I don't feel like that strengthens families at all.
Oh, wow.
Let's make it make sense. So, okay, I get my daughter legally, visitation wise, every other weekend, right? So, when you do that math, it comes out to be like 42 or 43 days out of the year. So, it's 365 days of the year. Okay.
Right.
So, how is that fair? 43 days of the year? You pay full time.
Hey, you froze up. You froze up. You froze up. Real quick. Hey, run that breakdown. I just want to make sure that we get this. Run that
Yeah, yeah,
breakdown again. That 365. This is
yeah,
good.
yeah. So, it's 365 days in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But on a every other weekend, parenting cycle, it comes out to be about 42 or 43 days out of the year. So
Mm.
that means that you are having a child in your possession less than 2 months out of the year. Now, that's not including the whole like you get her for 2 weeks in
That's
a
not enough
summer.
time to
Yeah,
build
so
meaningful connections.
exactly. And so let's just say you get the 2 weeks out of the summer. If you add those 2 weeks to the 45 days, that's 60 days. So in other words, it's like saying you pay full-time child support for a child, you see her 60 days, and then the other 10 months, she's with her mom. But actually, in
Mm.
reality, she's with her mom all 12 months. So
Right.
it's the family services thing, man. It's destroying families, right? And then I feel like when you put the wrong person in charge to make all decisions in a system like this, it does nothing but just make the situation worse. Because the guy doesn't have any rights, he doesn't have any say so, this and that. So it's just
Oh man.
yeah. So
And
these are
so
the
how
things that
question real quick.
yeah.
How can judges, how can these courtrooms help reduce the breakdown of families? Just speak to that.
Well, first of all, I think they need to crack down on how the money is divvied out, right?
Mm.
So, for example,
You about to upset a lot of folk right now.
hey,
Be
yeah,
careful.
let's keep it real. Let's be
Uh-huh.
honest, because you'll have some petty moms that'll be like, oh well, I gotta pay the light bill, and your kid is underneath these lights, so I gotta pay the light bill. Come on, like really?
Mm.
You're gonna pay the light bill regardless,
Right.
right? So the kid has nothing to do with the light bill, right? Let's just be
Mm.
honest. I feel like there should be some limitations with how the money is held because let's talk healthcare, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have one of those accounts called an HSA, where money goes into that account, the way you burn the HSA is by using it for copays and using it for glasses and using it for only health reasons, right? That
Right.
money is allotted for health stuff. It's not like you can take your HSA money and be like, well, let me go and buy me some Air Maxes real quick from
Right.
Foot Locker. And so I truly believe if you were to keep just a total or some type
Mm-hmm.
of record of how money is spent, you'll be
Right.
surprised.
If they had vehicles like the HSA that you mentioned, they had vehicles that protected the
Absolutely.
money and
Absolutely.
kind of regulated how it's spent. You think
Absolutely.
that would help
Absolutely.
with families that are with non-custodial parents and parents who don't have rights and are paying child support.
And think about it this way. When I was a police officer, at one point, I would see people that would have warrants on them for child support, right? For like back pay.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is it's two things. It's really crazy. So the first thing is I would see guys that would get caught with a gun and they can make bail, right? But then you get caught because you're back in child support, and all of a sudden they hold you. They're going to make you stay automatically. They want you to be in front of the judge because child support is a money making machine. It's not, you know,
Man.
it's a money maker. It's a moneymaker. I remember when I was working in law enforcement, there was two things that I remember about Hamilton County for sure. They said it was a 98% conviction rate for DUIs and that it was a big moneymaker for like child support. It's a moneymaker, man.
That's crazy.
It's a
That's crazy.
business. And so I've seen people that would get locked up for being back, in back pay or backlog of their child support. They'll go to prison. You'll think, okay, well, all right, he got in trouble for not paying, and so now he goes to prison. You would think it stopped. No, while he's in prison, that money is still accruing, and it's interest on
Oh
that.
wow. Oh
Oh yeah,
wow. And so that's another reason why, I got into the fatherhood space is, one, to equip dads to be the best dads they could be. Two, to mentor the fatherless. And then this third one, which is to
oh
legislative
yeah,
reform,
oh yeah,
where and I don't have all the answers, right? But I know that hearing your story, that, we need some reform in this area.
oh
We
yeah,
need some reform for a man to get incarcerated and for that tab to still be running when he's not in a position, right? Yes, he shouldn't have put himself in that position or whatever the reason is, but the tab shouldn't still be running for child support. He's not in a position to pay child support,
yeah. I
right?
mean, man,
And
listen,
so something should be in place for that. Man, we're gonna have to come back to that, man. We're gonna have to have you back on and talk more, man, for real. Maybe we can change the topic and we can get into some more stuff.
that's cool.
But question, because your story is so unique. You got the
Mhm.
blended aspect. You have a situation where you have a son, your relationship was good with the mother there, your daughter, not so much. Did you have any ideas about fatherhood that were proving wrong after becoming a parent?
Yes,
Talk
yes.
about it, man.
So one of my topics that I speak on that I have on my list of topics as a speaker that I'll talk about
No.
is navigating through life by making good decisions,
Okay. Okay
right?
now.
So let me give you just a snippet of that. So here I am. I'm a single guy. I'm a police officer. I'm making great money. I get a brand new house. I got a brand new car. And here I was. I was like, man, I got everything that I could ever dream of and want, right? Like, life is good. I
Right.
said, the only thing I'm missing is a child. Like, I want to be a dad, right? And that sounds good, but the reality is that's the wrong order. I was
Mm.
thinking out of order. I wasn't thinking wife first and then have a child. I was like, I want to be a dad. And so then I just happened to meet a person that was an attractive person who had a big job. And I'm thinking, okay, beautiful woman, good job. Handsome guy like myself, good job. Two
Right.
beautiful people making good money. We're going to have a beautiful kid and we can have a beautiful life together. No, that's not how it works. And so
So
people,
why is that part important then? You because I should just be able to just hook up with, girl, she attractive, she got a nice life for her, I got a nice life, we making good
right,
money. I should just be able to come together. Why is the marriage part so important, Otis?
because without God, man, it's nothing. It's the wrong equation.
Mm.
I don't care how you add it up, right? In real life, 1 + 1 = 2. But if that plus sign in that equation is not God, like her, God, and then me to equal, it's one. The Bible says we come together and become one, right? Biblical
Wow.
math,
Biblical math. Let's go.
yeah, biblical math and reality math is different,
Mm.
right? And I think we as people are too influenced by culture and by family and by influence and being coerced in ways
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
and,
Status quo and and
my dad, it's because we're so prone to like doing it our way, right? I'm sure you can remember when you were like 17, 16. You're like, hey, I can't wait till I'm 18, I'm gonna do this. I can't wait till I'm 21, I'm gonna do this. And then by the time I'm 25, I'm gonna be married, and then I'm gonna have a house by 26, and I'm gonna be a dad by 30. Like, you already, and God's like, what? You planning your life? Okay. Well, I'm gonna let you do that.
mm,
Then I'm gonna turn that upside down and I'm gonna refine you in this blue fire real quick.
yeah.
And I'm gonna get you back on my plan.
So you had this misconception. You thought that, being a father was just like this proverbial Walmart store where you could just push the cart down the aisle and just say, "Let me pick fatherhood off the shelf." And
That's an
yeah,
interesting take. I wouldn't I wouldn't describe it
I don't,
that way,
I don't
but
know.
it's
It
but
just
it's
seems
more
like you
like
just said, "Man,
it's
let me be a father. Let me stop by Walmart and go pick
it,
this up real quick."
the it was more like, and this might seem real crazy, but it's more like saying, hey, if you choose a person for just the outside,
Mm,
right?
come on
It's
now.
it's it's merely like going for a Mercedes that has a lot of features. When in reality, the Toyota and can get me to A to B just like the Mercedes.
The Mercedes.
And so one is considered like a family dependable car, right? And a safe car and rated safe. And the other one is like, it ain't as safe, but it's luxury. It looks good.
Mm,
It's a fast car,
right. It's gonna feed.
right?
It's gonna feed my ego.
You're gonna look cool, right?
Right.
And the reality is, man, and I and this is actually a part of a book that I'm writing, right? But
Okay.
the reality is, you can't go by the features. I need to
Mm,
be more concerned with safety. It's like me trying to have a conversation with our
mm,
21-year-old, and I say, "Hey, man, I know you want a new car, but I think you should go buy a Toyota." And he's like, "No, I want to go buy a Lexus," right?
uh
And
huh.
so, how do you explain to a young mind, like, hey, man, this is the better vehicle for you?
Right.
And so, sometimes it takes them a little like bump on the head or something before they be like, man, he told me.
Because that comes with a cost.
Oh
It
yeah,
comes at a cost. They don't understand that Mercedes got, a $200 oil change
oil
or
change
$300 oil change. They don't
and,
tell you
and
about
eight
that
hundred
part.
dollar tires each, kind of
Right.
thing, right?
Absolutely. They don't tell you about that. It comes at a cost the same way that that particular lady that you may be pursuing,
Absolutely.
there's a cost that occurs,
Expensive
and
parts, expensive labor, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
exclusive dealers that only fix it. Like you can't just go everywhere. So
mm,
it's very like exclusive.
yeah,
It's very
absolutely.
like high priced. So yeah,
And then you
everything comes
throw
at a
in that if
cost.
she's not healed and if she doesn't have the skill set to
Or
navigate
she
healthy
don't believe in the
relationships.
or she don't believe in the Lord and you do. Like you
Come on now.
I wasn't thinking about equally yoked. I wasn't thinking about that. None of that stuff came up until after the fact, man. If somebody's watching this
Wow.
video, I need y'all to know you better you better pick the right person. You better make sure that they love the Lord. You better make
So
sure
let's
that
get
they
into
know
it.
him.
So let me ask the question then, Otis, since you jumping all ahead. Let me
Yeah,
ask the question. What advice would you give new fathers? Because we got to wrap this up. What advice would you give new fathers? They're contemplating, they're where you are, man. I'm at a certain place in life. I have a degree. I got a good job. I'm doing well for myself. I want to be a dad. Go. What advice do you have for them?
pray. Pray and ask God for direction. And make sure that you know that you know that you know that you found your wife. And take your time and be selective. Be selective, and you want to make sure that you're making the right decision because that decision can be a decision that leads to more things such as children that affects your entire life or debt that affects your entire life or hardship, stress.
Relationships.
I
Yeah.
mean, just all kind of stuff, toxicity. So you want to make sure that you make the right decision because I'm telling you, making the wrong decision will make your life hell.
Wow.
And I can't make it
Wow.
plainer than that.
That's real. So, a question that I ask all my guests before we wrap up. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell him?
Man, that success, you have to be careful with success. And you have to be careful with decision making because the wrong decisions will affect your life. And that success, you having success or tasting success, it could take you off path of where God is.
Hold up, man. That's that's middle age Otis talking. I'm 18. I'm
Yeah.
successful. How is that going to take me off
Okay.
course?
Let me rewind.
The goal is to be successful.
Okay, but listen, if you 18 and you get a good job and you making good money and you go
Hmm.
buy a car,
I'm winning.
you think you success. That's what I'm saying.
I'm
And so
winning. I'm
that
18. I got a brand new car.
yeah,
I'm
and
winning.
guess
I'm successful.
and you go get an apartment, and so you then and as they say in today's term, you think you him
Why do I got to be careful? I am.
because you being him and feeling like you're him will make you feel invincible, and you totally miss God. You forget about God. You don't
Mm,
pay attention to God, and it's like a facade. It's like putting on this mask. It's like putting on an outfit. Certain people. It's like you put on an outfit and then your whole ego change. It's like you go to the barber.
I put that Fosachi on, man. I'm
Wait,
telling
wait,
you, I'm
wait.
acting
Where's
different.
where's
Put
the
them
lie
red
though?
bottoms on. I'm acting different, Otis.
Let's think about this. Where's the lie? You go to the barbershop. You all scruffy. You look like you know my God, and what happened, right?
You
But
look like
then
humble
they
Hank.
clean you up, and you like, yeah, I'm him again, right?
Mm,
And so that is what I have to caution you young gentlemen out there. Getting in that position, thinking that you him, it will hurt you, and
mm,
it's like you'll be walking in the spirit of blindness.
mm.
Imagine putting on some shades and thinking you look cool, but really you blind,
That's rich. That's
spiritually
rich.
blind.
I tell folk all the time, man, success has a way of just puffing you up and making you think you're something that you're not. And I like how you said, be careful with success. You read in scripture where it talks about humble yourself in the sight of the Lord. And it says that God will do something when you do that. He'll lift you up, right? He'll put you in places. He'll set you in rooms. He'll bring people across your paths. He'll open up doors and opportunities for you to shine. But it only comes when we humble ourselves.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
man. My most successful year in real estate, I sold the most houses ever and I made the most money. In the streets, I was celebrated. But inside, here I am, I'd be featured on national television. I'd be doing interviews and be like, oh, Otis, you're such a great agent and you're making such a great, impact in the community. But like in the inside, I was feeling empty.
Mm,
And I would celebrate it more in the streets than I was in my own house at the time. What good is money when your house ain't happy?
during that season, what did you desire most?
To be honest, at the time, like my home life wasn't very good, so I desired to work more.
Wow, you wanted to escape. So what did work do? Let's get into it then. What did work provide you?
Work provided me an opportunity to feel rewarded because the people that I was helping, they're like, oh my God, like, thank you so much. You helped me, purchase the most important thing in my life, which is the home, right? So I feel
Mm,
rewarded and accomplished by that. And then I'm getting these awards. So I'm feeling accomplished by that. And then these people are celebrating me. And then the next thing I know, I get called and be like, hey, we want to feature you on a nationally televised show. We want you to come speak at this conference and all these things. But it's like at the end of the day, man, you be tired.
yeah.
You be tired, you be empty, you
And
know.
home wasn't a refuge for you. Home wasn't.
It was not. It was not. And no shade to her or anything. It's just,
Yeah,
in that period of our life we weren't happy.
I
Right.
get it. I get
And
it.
so life can be challenging when home is not happy. But yet you're
That's
out
a bar.
trying you trying to make up for that by pleasing other people. And then you get hooked to the people pleasing. And then you get hooked on the people pumping you up because you the greatest, you the best, you the man, you crushing it, you killing it. And then it's like, but none of that means, you know what? None of that means nothing to God, bro.
Man, you dropping some gems, brother. You dropping some gems,
None
man.
of that, nothing, none of that. God, it says God, um, he looks at your inner heart.
Yeah, yeah.
It ain't got nothing to do with the outside. So it don't matter if I
Mm-mm.
sell 2 houses or 300 houses and how much money I make has nothing to do with my inside. If my heart ain't right, it don't even matter.
Come on now. You preaching now.
Yeah.
Told y'all
So,
he a preacher, y'all. He an ordained minister now. Let's be clear.
oh
Hey,
man,
Otis, man, this has been a great conversation, man. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on, man, and interview with us. How can people get in touch with you if they want to follow up this conversation, man, and dive more into your content?
well, my book, How to Make Six Figures Selling Real Estate as a Realtor, that book is on all the platforms, mainly bookbaby.com. If you want to support me that way, you can find me on social media. I'm on Instagram at Otis underscore the underscore realtor. My speaking page is at Speak Life OJ on Instagram. And it's the same way on Facebook. That's how you can get in touch with me. You can find me on TikTok under Speak Life OJ. And most importantly, you can get me in person by hiring me to come speak at your school, your church, your organization, your conference, and I can meet you in person. I would love that
Hey,
opportunity.
book my man Otis. You won't be disappointed. He's a
Otis
dynamics.
Wellborn Jr.
Hey, there it is. That's the website. Write it down. We're gonna include it in all the show notes and everything like that.
Yes,
But man, brother, we are so grateful to have you, Otis. Man, I appreciate you coming on board, man. You're doing big things in the world. Keep it up. God is using you mightily. Don't let up off the gas, brother. Don't let up off the gas. All
man. I
right.
appreciate the opportunity, and I'm gonna speak this over your life, man. Your pop talk show. It's global, man. It's gonna
Oh
be on
wow.
big platforms and it'll be well sought after. So just receive it, brother.
Praise God. I received that, man. Hey, he's Otis Wellborn. I'm Chauncey Julius, and this is the Pop Talk podcast where we exist to eradicate fatherlessness. We're saluting fathers, we're encouraging them, we're sharpening them, and we just simply want them to show up. Thank you for joining us. Till next time. Peace.